NFL Draft. If you missed the opening round, this is what you missed as far as the first overall player taken.
With the first pick in the 2010 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Sam Bradford, quarterback, Oklahoma.
Oh yes, yes, music to my ears. Sam Bradford, the #1 overall pick in this year's NFL Draft, and well deserved. First of all, I know a lot of people are going to be thinking the Rams should have taken the Ndamukong Suh of Nebraska. And believe me, that would have been a no-miss situation. That would have made a lot of sense too. But sometimes, usually more times than not, NFL drafts are about needs. And for the St. Louis Rams, they knew that the quarterback position was their biggest need. That was evident because they cut Mark Bulger, their veteran but aging quarterback, recently. They knew they had to have the best overall quarterback available, and so they wasted no time by taking Bradford #1. Talent-wise, ability-wise, leadership-wise, they got their guy. Now, as I mentioned on the previous show, OU Sooner fans or fans in general, don't be surprised if it's a struggle for Bradford in the beginning. This is not a very good offensive line. There's a reason why St. Louis was the worst team in the NFL. They have a lot of problems. Offensive line is one of them. So Bradford is going to struggle in the beginning. Over time, though, I think he'll be fine, provided that the shoulder doesn't give him any further problems. I believe that Bradford, over the course of 2 or 3 seasons, is going to catch on, and maybe even sooner than that. You have to remember, he's a pretty intelligent guy, too. Excuse me. Bradford, again, will be thrown into the fire. He's going to go through growing pains, but he'll also prosper as well. So, fantastic job by St. Louis in sticking to their guns and going with need. Sam Bradford, the #1 overall player in the draft, the first Oklahoma Sooner to hold that title since Billy Sims 30 years ago was the #1 overall pick in the 1980 NFL Draft. That's when Detroit selected him #1. Speaking of Detroit, they did go with the Ndamukong Suh of Nebraska with the second overall pick. The #3 pick, a very emotional, jubilant Gerald McCoy, the defensive tackle out of Southeast High School, left OU a year early, made the right call. And again, it was emotional. He had family nearby embracing him, overwhelmed at the moment. And for McCoy, what a moment it is to be picked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 3rd overall pick. And McCoy, just like Suh, I think can have an immediate impact from that defensive line position. The #4 overall pick, a little bit of a surprise. A lot of people thought that the Redskins would go with the best offensive tackle. And I have to admit, Russell Okung of Oklahoma State is a little bit better than Trent Williams, considering what happened this past season with the way both of them played. But the Redskins feel that Trent Williams, is a better run blocker, and if he puts his work ethic together, which has been in question in the past, that Williams in time will be better than Okung. So Williams was picked by Washington to be the 4th overall pick in the draft. You heard it correctly. 3 of the first 4 picks in the draft, Oklahoma Sooners. Bradford, McCoy, and Williams. And the first round, it wasn't over for Oklahoma. With the 21st overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals, and what would turn out to be a receiver-heavy draft for them, went with Jermaine Gresham, the tight end. Gresham, of course, didn't play any of last season, had the injury difficulty, so that kept him sidelined the whole 2009 season. But talent-wise, the best overall tight end in the draft. Cincinnati really needed a tight end. And the Bengals feel that Gresham could be the next Antonio Gates or Tony Gonzalez. A very athletic, slim, blocking, but good hand tight end player. And that's what Gresham will provide for the Bengals. I mentioned it's a heavy receiving draft for the Bengals. As far as the Big 12, how about the Bengals going with Jordan Shipley in the 3rd round, Shipley out of Texas, and then they would later pick up Des Briscoe, a wide receiver out of Kansas. So Cincinnati must have saw something this past season in the Big 12 to sway them to go heavy as far as receiving corps, taking a tight end and at least 2 wide receivers in the draft. More good news for Oklahoma. They had 3 other players selected in the draft. In the 4th round, Keenan Clayton, the outside linebacker, taken by the Eagles. And Brody Eldridge, a great story for Eldridge, a guy who played several positions last year for Oklahoma. picked by the Indianapolis Colts in round 5. And if Eldridge can make the team, Indianapolis can use Eldridge in more than just one way. So good for him. As far as the not so good news for Oklahoma in the draft, Dominic Franks dropped lower than people thought. A lot of people thought he was going to go second round, third round at the worst. He drops all the way to the 5th round. The cornerback, Franks, taken by the Falcons. Probably the reason why he declined as far as his status due to his NFL Combine. His 40 time was not very impressive at all. And got to have a pretty good 40 time if you're going to play defensive back in the NFL. You'll get eaten alive otherwise. So Frank's stock did drop. And there were several Sooners who did not get picked. However, they did sign undrafted free agent contracts, including Chris Brown, who signed with the Denver Broncos. DeMarcus Granger, the defensive tackle, he signs with Seattle. Matt Clapp, the fullback, he signs with Detroit. Austin English, the injury-riddled defensive end, he signs with Cleveland. And Brian Jackson, the senior cornerback, he signs with the New York Jets. So 7 OU players drafted and 5 Oklahoma Sooners signing undrafted free agent deals. So hopefully those 12 players can make things work out on the next level.